Hi all and welcome to this latest video log on the development of Nano. I've been doing a whole lot of work in the game, haven't been able to do a video much, and that's because I've been working so hard in the game. So that's a good thing. So I'm just going to go straight in and show you what I've been doing. So firstly, last time I showed you all about abilities in the game and how that works. Today I'm going to show you about the inventory system and the item system in the game. Now, I wanted the game to have an inventory system on par with, an RPG or an MMO, where you can do a whole lot with it. So I'm going to get right in and show you. So let's go here to this switch over here, and you can see I can't turn the switch on and off. Well, that's because this little slot here is empty. Basically, I'm able to use items to sort of complete circuits. So this is a circuit here that needs to be completed before the switch can turn on. Fortunately, I don't have the graphics to make it look like a circuit right now, but it will be in the completed game. If I look at my inventory and all the tabs, I've really got nothing to put in there. By the way, these tabs are for different types of items. They'll have icons instead of these letters. Basically, mission items, material items, consumables, and add-ons. I'll explain as we go what they are. So to complete circuits we need material items, and sometimes they need to be of a certain type. In this case I've allowed any type of material item to go into this slot here to activate the switch. So I'm going to go down here and grab this item here, and hopefully it's a material item. What do you know it is? Of course I don't have the right icon. The material is actually a 5-volt fuse, however, I just haven't done the art for that yet, so I'm still using this magnet. Now what I can do is I can drag and drop that into that slot right there, and now the door will open. So this is very flexible. I can add in as many slots as I want to a stateful object HUD, and so that means not just switches can do this. This can be done with any stateful object, which means this door, this big thing here, or even this turret, pop-top turret over here can have a circuit that you need to sort of complete in order to activate it or change something on its controls. Now, I'm just going to show you a few more things. So I'll go to this character here, and I'm just going to pick up this item here. And that is an add-on item. Now, add-ons basically are things like, in a fantasy game, they would be weapons and armor. And you can see that Ned's arms are missing. Well, that's basically because Ned's arms are his weapons. And so we've just picked up an add-on and we're going to equip it. However, we can't equip it here. In Nano, you can only equip at certain checkpoints, like these constructor pads. It makes you have to make your decisions before you head off into battle, and which will force you to find different ways to complete the mission. So I'll quickly explain about the quick slots in the game. So these items, inventory slots, are permanent, and these quick slots, which are also the exact same class, are labeled as temporary, and that makes them behave a bit differently. So if I drag and drop an item from a permanent slot to another permanent slot, you can see that the from slot gets evicted, and the item gets put in the new slot when I drag and drop. Now it's a bit different with the quick slot. The quick slot really just holds a reference to the item that is in a permanent slot, and therefore I can put as many as I want in here. However, if I use one, they're all going to disappear. And another difference is I can't put them back, so that would allow you to duplicate, which would be really bad and cause crashes. And also, if I take them off, they just disappear. Whereas if I take one of these off, it wants me to delete it. So with a difference of one variable, you can change a lot of how something behaves. So let's go over here to our constructor pad, and I'm going to pick up this item as well, which is also a add-on item. Fortunately, I don't have icons for those either. And I'm going to turn the switch on. Now you notice that this switch doesn't have a slot in it. Well, that's because the GUI system is very diverse. I mean, this sort of slotting of circuits in the HUD for stateful objects is very diverse. It doesn't have to have any, or it can have as many as it wants to make a complex circuit. However, that is all not set in the code. That is set when you make the GUI. An inventory slot is basically an extension of an simple custom GUI object. Therefore, if you place them in this little GUI for your stateful object, it'll automatically convert them to those objects, and it will not activate unless they're all filled or filled in a certain way. So there's plenty of flexibility there. I'm going to just turn on our constructor pad and it's ready to go. It's sort of like those Iron Man, you know, this little robot that helps them build the iron suits. And we can go onto our constructor pad, which is also a stateful object. You can see it's got its own little HUD, which could, if I wanted it to, have its own circuit that you have to complete, but not in this case. And we're going to hit edit. Now, here comes our character sheet. Now we have another type of inventory slot, which is an extension of the inventory slot called an add-on slot. Now, the only difference between that is the add-on slot inherits from the inventory slot. It has 2 extra variables to set conditions, and it overwrites one function, and that's it. So basically, let's equip our add-ons, and you can see after I've equipped it, he's got his hand back, and he's got his magnet back, and now he's got his abilities from those items. The hand doesn't give any abilities, just the icon. But you'll notice I can't actually move these to any other slot. That's because each add-on has a reference to a specific slot ID. You can't necessarily slot in any slot, and each of these slots has its own ID, so they have to match up. Another thing that has to match up is your character, of course. I don't want to be putting magnet arm on blue here, because that just doesn't make sense. It won't let me put it anyway. Fortunately, it's not very intuitive in the way that you can't tell which slots it can go into. However, I'll make some sort of mask that makes it look red, so you know it doesn't fit in there. So yeah, that's that. So that's been working pretty well. That's a pretty big milestone for me to get this finished. I'm on a mission to complete all the major systems in the game. Probably have only like 1.5 left to do, which is great, because then I can start working on the details. There's another thing I wanted to explain about this inventory system. It's all good and dandy to just go, okay, well, let's have a list of items in the inventory system. But, you know, I did this, and, you know, it doesn't quite work as well as you would think. What I found was it was better to have a list of inventory slots. You're never going to have an item that doesn't go in a slot. If you are owning an item, it needs a slot to go in, at least in this sense. So my inventory is actually a list of slots. The list of slots is created when I load the level, and therefore it's a fixed amount, and therefore, you know, if I have a list of slots, then I've got to have a problem with erasing iterators and stuffing around with memory management more than I need to be. So what I have is this list of inventory slots, and basically an inventory slot, it has a pointer to an item. If that pointer is null, then there's nothing in the slot. If it's not null, then it holds an item, and it can access that item and then therefore draw its its icon on top of the slot, and it just makes things super easy. It also makes things super easy when you get an item, where to put it in the list. If you want to represent it in an inventory system like this, then you're going to want it to be easy to manage in that way. So there's a few things to think about when it comes to this. I found, well, I wanted it to be like an MMO, so I wanted to have the ability to stack objects. I mean, if you think about a fantasy game, you have a piece of armor and, you know, maybe like a chest piece. That's one big flipping piece of armor. You ain't going to fit that more than one of those in a single slot. However, in modern RPGs, you can stack smaller items. Say you have like a healing potion, you can stack maybe 100 healing potions in one slot. Well, I wanted to have this capability in Nano as well. And however, that makes things just so much more complicated. Okay, so if you think about it before, what happened was, without that functionality, you simply go to your list of inventory slots and you iterate through them, and as soon as you find the first null item as an empty inventory slot, you add it there. However, when you have stacking items, it becomes way more complex because say you've got a potion and it stacks to 100. You've got maybe a stack of 50 in the inventory, in your inventory already. So instead of just adding it to the first empty slot, well, you've got to iterate through all your slots, and you've got to figure out, well, do I have any stacks existing already? So you find a stack. Okay, so you find, let's say we pick up 100 of these items all at once, and you've got a stack of 50. First, you've got to iterate to find that stack of 50. And okay, so we found the stack of 50. Then, well, we can only put a maximum stack of 100, so we can add 50 to that. So we've maximized that stack. Now we've still got 50 left over. Then we've got to search through the rest of the slots looking for another stack just in case. Once we get to the end of that stack, then we can now start iterating through all the slots to find a what am I finding? To find an empty slot. Sorry, I just phased out there. So once you found the empty slot, then you can put it in. However, what if there aren't any empty slots left? Well, if there's no empty slots, then the function to add an item has to return the number of the quantity of item that you have left, and give it to the item that's lying on the ground so that it still has that number of that quantity left. Otherwise, you're destroying it. You're losing it from the game, and it'll stuff it with balance. So it gets quite damn complex after a while of doing all that stuff. So I'm pretty happy that it's completed, and yeah. So other things on the game. The game is going so well at the moment. I'm making just so much progress, which I'm happy about. I'm at a point where I'm almost finished all the systems in the game, and it's just really super exciting because once I've finished all the systems, I can start, you know, making the details of the game, creating, building the actual levels and the story around it, instead of just making these systems that are, yes, super important, but not as fun to create. The way I code has a way of being really slow to begin with, and then once I've completed a system, a very flexible system, I have the opportunity to, you know, I can do pretty much anything with that system, and then development is fast. And now I'm slow. I'm almost at the end of this really slow section where I'm trying to make everything flexible, and I'm almost up to this fast section where I can do just about anything with what I've made. Like, these inventory slots are incredibly diverse. I can use them for 101 different things. So that is super exciting, and the game is finally starting to look more like a game. One thing I didn't show you about this constructor pad as well is it's also a respawn point, and it'll do a whole bunch of other things later, but yeah, and a checkpoint, save, shop, teleport, recall, all that fancy doodad stuff. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching the video. I'm not going to explain too much about the code anymore in the Essential. because yeah, it's too much right now. Well, I've babbled on for way too long. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you got bored, well, that's okay. You can stop watching any time. And I'll catch you all later, hopefully with some more detailed, nice, fancy stuff later on. See you later.